everyone, welcome back to the channel. So today I'm going to take a look at the Transformers Legacy Evolution Wave 3 Voyager class Dirge. Let me know what you think of this figure in the comment section down below. Is it a pickup or a pass? Now let's take a look at the figure's packaging. So here we have the packaging. Starting at the very front, we have Transformers on the side. We have the Legacy Evolution logo at the bottom. A really nice artwork shot of Dirge in his jet mode. We have Dirge with white text and a white Decepticon symbol. We have an open one displaying the figure in the packaging. If we do look at the top of the box here, we have the another Legacy Evolution logo with the QR code. If you do scan that, that will show his stats. On the side, we have a close-up of Dirge's head and chest, and a really cool action pose with Dirge with his null rays. And on the back, he transforms in 23 steps. There's a product shot of Dirge in his robot and jet mode. And on the final side, we have half of the Legacy Evolution artwork, so if you do get another Voyager, you can put both boxes together and complete the artwork. And that is pretty much it for the packaging, so let's now get into the review. Here we have Dirge in his robot mode. Let's take a look at the details. Starting at the very top with the head sculpt, we have some really nice silver for the face with some red for the eyes, some dark blue for the main helmet section with some black for the main nose cone. I do like the little small paint apps of gold and red at these intake sections, with the rest mostly done in that dark black. And I do like this kind of turbine sections done on the chest, again done in that glossy black. And there's some transparent orange plastic for the cockpit on the chest as well, looking very cool with some dark blue surrounding it. And there's some more of that dark blue for the shoulder and some black for the forearm. And I really do like the paint apps of the purple, white, red, and gold at the knees, and there's some more black and blue for the rest of the legs and the feet. And I really do like this mixture, almost an orange, yellow, and gold for the wing, and there's a really cool angle to it. There's actually a hinge at the base, so you can actually hinge these back and forth to display it, of course, just to be easier or for some really cool poses. And I really do like the small Decepticon symbols at the front, and there's actually some more at the back, and there's this kind of a faded purple color to it. It's a bit interesting. It's not as dark of a purple on the knee. It's kind of faded, which is a bit interesting. Typically, we have a really dark purple for the Decepticon symbols, but if we do flip to the back here, overall pretty well compact, not much of a backpack, no waffling, no gaps, nothing sticking out. Of course, we do have the nose cone there, which I actually think looks pretty cool in the back, with some more transparent orange plastic. We have the little wings again done in that kind of gold yellow mixture, and of course we have the other side of the wings that I showed you earlier with the bigger Decepticon symbols this time, and again that kind of faded purple color I actually do quite like. And there's some really nice nut and bolt and panel detailing. If you do get a bit closer, you can see that there. We do have the heel spurs done in black as well. And overall, a really cool looking Seeker in my opinion. So now for articulation, the head can look up and down and side to side on a very stiff ball joint. The arms can move out and in, forward and back. And of course, rotation of the bicep, there is an elbow bend to a very good degree. Unfortunately, there is no wrist rotation, but the hands can actually move forward and back, mostly due to transformation. But you can actually use that for poses if you want to. Unfortunately, there is no waist rotation, but it's expected because, of course, there's been many versions or uses of this mold so far, so no surprise there. There is actually a bit of a skirt piece here, so you can actually move that out of the way for articulation, so it can kick forward and back. Out to the side, there is rotation at the top of the leg. There is a knee bend to a very good degree. There's also an ankle pivot to an okay degree, and the toes can actually pivot forward and back as well. And I already did mention the wing. Of course, there is a hinge at the base that can actually hinge forward and back as well. And overall, pretty good articulation. Of course, again, as I said, there's been several uses of this mold, so articulation is kind of to be expected with this figure, but overall, very good for a Voyager class figure. So now for his accessories, it's the classic null rays that we're used to, done in that really nice glossy black, which can be stored in several different ways. Actually, you can see there's some magnetic ports at the wings, there's some more at the shoulders. You can use the hands if you want to, but I do prefer the classic way of storing them at the shoulder, and they are a blast effect piece compatible in case you're wondering. And overall, I think that looks really, really cool there. So now for some comparisons, here we have Dirge, well, with Dirge, and I think they look kind of odd side by side. So this is the Earthrise release with the Amazon exclusive 2-pack that came with Ramjet. That was a couple years back, of course. Since it was an Amazon exclusive, it was really hard to come by. I was lucky to get it. I was so surprised I actually even got it. I still consider myself lucky to this day, and it's expensive on the aftermarket, so they actually repacked it and put it in the Legacy Evolution line, which is this figure here. So mold-wise, they are pretty much the exact same thing. Accessories, the exact same thing. There's actually a bit of an interesting fun fact that I do need to tell you. So some areas on this figure are actually painted, and the same areas on this figure are actually plastic. So it's a bit interesting, of course. I don't know all the areas. Of course, you'd really have to examine it, close, take a long time. But there are some specific areas like the wings, the arms, the chest that are very actually between paint and plastic, which is a bit interesting. I'm not really sure why they did that, but, it's just a bit of a fun fact that you might have not known. But they do look pretty cool side by side. And again, no mold changes. It's the exact same thing. It's really just to help out collectors if they weren't able to get that Amazon exclusive. And most likely, since, of course, that was a 2-pack and it came with a Ramjet, they will probably re-release Ramjet and Thrust because those other 2 figures were exclusives as well. So if you miss those 2 figures, you probably will get another chance to get them very, very soon, which I think is really, really nice. And as for another few comparisons, here he is with the Armada Megatron. I will have to move the camera up a bit because he is quite tall, and his review is up on the channel right now. Make sure you go check that out after this one. And now for another few Conehead comparisons, I do have to compare him with Ramjet. Looking very cool. And again, as I mentioned, probably he'll get repacked maybe in Legacy Evolution or some other line, maybe like Selects or a Buzzworthy Bumblebee. I really see that probably happening this year most likely, or next year. And we do have to do a full group comparison. So of course I'm going to grab Thrust and bring him in, and hopefully I can fit them all in because they do have some wings, so it makes them a bit hard to get all in shots. But here we have all the cone heads together, and I think that looks absolutely awesome. Please do let me know in the comments, what is your favorite cone head? Not just of the figure, just in general design, appearance. What's your favorite cone head? Thrust has always been my favorite. That is just my opinion, but that is pretty much it for the cone head comparisons. Now for one final one, it's actually a wave comparison. Here he is with his wave mate, that being Nemesis Leo Prime. These are both Voyagers from the Legacy Evolution Wave 3, looking very cool side by side. And yeah, not the most, I would say, creative or interesting Voyagers, but still pretty fun to handle. Of course, I do think in Wave 4, we'll definitely have some more interesting Voyagers in that wave, like Bludgeon and the new Junkion figure, but still worthwhile to get figures in my opinion, of course. Now let's now get down to transformation. So it's the exact same thing as the previous, Earthrise Seekers. So if you have Starscream, any of the cone heads, you pretty much know exactly what to do here. So you're just going to remove the null rays and just put these off to the side for now. Just get those out of the way. What you're going to do is actually push the hands out and just kind of stretch the arm out just so I can show you what I'm going to do. You're going to open up this panel here, and then you're going to push this entire assembly through this gap right there. So just push that through like that. And then there is a tab here and a slot right there. So just tab that into place. Do the same thing on the other side. So just hinge this entire assembly through, close that up, push the hand in like that. Then you're going to grab these whole locks or kind of tabs here, open up the chest like that, so you can then get the nose cone. I would advise to actually push the head up just so, of course, it can actually fit in that gap there. So you're just going to push the nose cone over the head. And as you can see, there's a tab that will just tab into place. You're actually going to use this hinge, rotate this all the way around. As you can see, of course, that will just fit into this slot like that. And there we go. And then you can push the arms in like that, push the arms in like that, and there we go. Then you can just close this all back up, just get these little clips into place. There we go. And then you can actually go to the top of the jet. You're going to hinge these little wings down and into place like that. So you can then collapse the feet, the heel spurs and the feet like that. Then you can flip back to this side. You can open up these little knee pieces. As you can see, of course, there's slots here and tabs there. And then you can tab the legs together like that. And then as you can see, of course, there's slots on the legs and there's tabs on the main body of the jet. And that's just going to hinge up, tab into place like that. Then you can collapse these pieces here. And then, of course, here we have Dirge in his jet mode. Let's take a look at the details. Here we have Dirge in his jet mode. Let's take a look at the details, starting at the very front with that nose cone section, mostly done in that dark blue with some black at the tip and some really nice transparent orange plastic for the main cockpit. Unfortunately, you cannot open it, but that was to be expected. I do really like the mixture of the kind of gold, orange, yellow mixture for the wings, and I do like all the nut and bolt and panel detailing, and that kind of faded purple Decepticon symbol looking very cool on both sides of the wings, looking really nice back there. And of course, we do have the feet, which do kind of form the thrusters, looking really cool in black and dark blue. and just overall really slick, really compact jet, of course. Very simple. Yes, there is a bit of kibble on the side. You can obviously tell these are the legs back there, but that really does not bother me. You know, not much kibble. Again, very compact, nothing ugly on the underside, and just a really fun looking jet. So now for his accessories and his accessory storage, I briefly showed them earlier, the two classic null rays, and there are several mech ports on the side and on the top, but I typically do store them on the wing because that just looks the best in my opinion, and they are blast effect piece compatible in case you're wondering, so you can do some really cool flight poses with some really cool blaster fire coming out of those lasers, and just a really cool looking jet. So now for some quick comparisons, here he is with his Conehead brethren thrust. And really the only mold change is the wings. Of course, the base of the jet, you know, the nose cone, the main body is pretty much the exact same thing. The only change, of course, is these wing areas here, and that is pretty much it. The accessories, the exact same molding, and just overall two really cool looking jets. And again, my preferred favorite of the Coneheads, just in general, design-wise, appearance-wise, I've always just really liked Thrust. That is just my opinion. And here he is with Ramjet. Overall looking really cool. And I really like to have, you know, one big group shot of all the Coneheads, but the jets just take up so much room, so unfortunately I cannot do that. But now for some non-jet comparisons. Here he is with Armada Megatron and his huge tank looking very cool side by side. Of course, two characters from the Legacy Evolution Wave 3, and I have quite a few more figures coming in, mostly the deluxes. Make sure you stay tuned for those reviews coming very soon. And for one final jet comparison, here is Dirge with, you know, Dirge. And they do look pretty odd next to each other. This is the Legacy Evolution one, this is the Earthrise one. And interesting enough, the Decepticon symbols on the Earthrise one, they're that, you know, dark purple color, but on this one, they're that kind of faded purple. Not really sure why they did that, but I actually kind of like the, you know, simple change. Just little details like those actually make a big difference. But that is pretty much it for the comparisons and this jet mode. Let's now get down to reverse transformation. So what you want to do is remove the null rays, just like that. Just push those off to the side. I'm actually gonna have to move the camera quite a bit so you can see what I'm doing. So what you're going to do is actually remove the entire nose cone, just untab that. So there's a tab there and a slot on the inside like that. Then you can actually hinge these sections forward like that. There we go. And then you can go to the back, disconnect the section here. There's tabs on this panel and there's slots on the legs. You can go to the underside, bring the knee pads out and down. Then you can extend the legs, and then these will just tab back into place like that. So then you can separate the legs like that. As you can see, of course, there's corresponding tabs and slots. And again, just kind of make sure, sometimes it can be a bit tricky. There we go. Just make sure those knee pads get tabbed into place. Then you can spread the feet apart like that. Spread the feet apart like that. Then you can position the wings however you want. Now let's work on the top half. You're going to open up these clips here and then open up the chest, bring the arms out like that, and just spread these out just to get some added clearance. You can then get the nose cone, bring this out, rotate it around, and hinge it in, and then close all of that up. And you're just going to make sure this huge tab here is going to fit into that slot on the inside of the chest, and that will just tab into place. You can then bring the hands out, You can then collapse the nose cone on the back and then just position the wings really however you want. Then you can open up these panels here, extend the arm, and there is a slot and a tab, and then just tab that into place like that. Then bring the arm down. Same thing on the other side. Extend the arm, tab this section into place, and then bring the arm down. Let me just quickly straighten everything up, and let me reposition the camera. And of course, we have to add his null rays. He needs his firepower. And there we have the reverse transformation of Legacy Evolution Dirge. Let's now get down to the final thoughts. So now for the final thoughts for the Transformers Legacy Evolution Wave 3 Voyager class Dirge. I think overall this figure is pretty good. So is this for everyone? No, absolutely not. It was repacked in this line because it originally came out in an exclusive 2-pack on Amazon. It came with the Ramjet and Dirge. I was actually luckily able to get that pack, and I'm really glad. But unfortunately at that time during Earthrise, they actually weren't doing that, where part of the stock was on Hasbro Pulse and the majority of the stock was on Amazon. The only way you could get it from retail was actually on Amazon, and it sold out almost instantly because, of course, pretty much every Transformer collector wanted it. You know, the Coneheads are very popular characters, and I thought most people really enjoyed the mold just in general. It was a really good mold and a really good figure. A lot of people wanted it, so you know, it was just impossible for many people to get it for retail. So I'm actually really glad they were able to repack this figure in Legacy Evolution Wave 3 for a retail price in the mainline, so a ton of people can get it. Very accessible. Pretty much any store that you think of, Target, Amazon, will be able to have this in stock, which I think is really good. And most likely they probably will do this for the remaining Coneheads, Thrust, and Ramjet. It just seems like the most likely. There is no confirmation that they will. It just seems the most likely, and I really hope they do. And I think it would be really nice if they did this for other exclusive packs like the Ironhide and Prowl, some of the Galactic Oddies. If they could repack some of those in future lines, I think that would be a really, really good idea. But just getting into the figure itself, you know, just taking the account, of course, that it's a repack, just putting that off to the side, I still think it is a really good figure. There is actually quite a few changes between this release and the main, original Earthrise one. There's actually a bit of an interesting tidbit or fact that I did not know when I purchased this figure. Yes, I already do have the original. The reason why I purchased this one is because I'm kind of a completionist, and I actually found it for a really good deal for how early this is, because it's actually supposed to be coming out in like August or September, and yet, of course, I found it in June. So that's really the main reason why I got it. But there is actually a really interesting change between this release and the original one. So there's actually certain areas on this one that are actually painted, while on the other one they're actually plastic, and of course vice versa. So I really did not know that going into this figure. So it's a bit of an interesting surprise. But of course, mold-wise, they're the exact same thing. No new accessories. They're the same classic no-rise, which is no problem with me. It's actually really nice having 2 Dirges, so then of course I can actually have one of the robot and one of the jet. Really, just adds options of how I can display these figures, which is really nice. But the jet mode overall looking really cool. I do like the kind of goldish orange yellow mixture. It's really interesting. And I do like the Decepticon symbols, how there's actually some on the top of the wings and some on the underside of the wings. And I really like this kind of faded purple color they use. It's not that really, dark, evil purple that they use for other Decepticons like Megatron and Starscream. It's kind of a faded color, which I actually kind of like. I do like the transparent orange plastic for the cockpit, and I do like the dark blue pretty much all the way down the middle of the jet, and there's some really cool intake sections done in black. It's just an overall really cool jet, and I do like the angles or the tips of the wings angled up. I think that looks really, really nice. And also, if you didn't know, you can actually display the null rays in several different ways. There's several MechTech ports on the top of the jet and on the underside and near the wings, and they're also blaster case compatible, in case you were wondering. As for transformation, it's very simple both ways. If you even have one version of this, Earthrise Seeker mold, you know exactly what to do here. Yes, there is some mold changes, where the wings and the head are concerned, from this one to Starscream, but the transformation, the whole, main, base of the mold is pretty much the exact same thing. The steps are pretty much the exact same thing. You know exactly what to do here. I did not even need to use the instructions with this figure. I knew it just like that. It's a really fun transformation. Even though I have several versions, it's still really fun to do and transform back and forth. As for the robot mode, I really like the kind of yelling, screaming head with the really cool red eyes and silver face. It's just a very classic, really good looking figure. Definitely screams G1 cone heads to me, and I'd really like to see maybe a release of a core class scale of the cone heads, because we do have, the classic 3 Thundercracker, Skywarp, and Starscream. If they maybe went into some more of the, more classic Seekers like the cone heads, maybe they can make the Rainmakers, maybe they can make, I don't know, Red Wing, the Sparkless Seeker. There's tons of Seekers that they made in the Siege and Earthrise mold of the Seekers, in past years that they could probably make in the core class scale that I'd be really interested to see, so I can make a whole, Seeker army in the small scale. That's just, people might think that's a bit excessive. I just really love to see that. I think that'd be really cool. I have to say there is one major plus on this figure. Unfortunately, I'm pretty sure with all of my other Conehead copies, unfortunately, the actual Conehead, there's always be a small paint chip at the tip of the cone, because of course it would kind of rub against the actual cone head or nose cone of the jet, and it would always be chipped. But on this copy, it has actually yet to do that, which I'm really glad. Hoping it doesn't do that in the future. For now, it's okay, but it might happen in the future. Articulation on this figure is exactly what you would expect. Very good, just, keeping, all the thoughts aside that this is like the 10th version of the mold, just putting that off to the side. Just a standalone figure. It's very good articulation for a Voyager class figure. Of course, you do have to take into account this figure is, 4 or 5 years ago, so probably not as good as, modern day Legacy, Evolution, and Stu Series 86 and Gamer Edition figures. There probably could be some more, movement in the ankle. There is an ankle pivot, but it is very, very limited. And unfortunately, the knee pads do tend to untap, but honestly, that's not really a complaint to this specific character here. It's really kind of a complaint to the overall mold. I've really had a problem with that for most of the Earthrise Seeker mold. Typically, the knee pads do not really stay tapped in, especially when you're posing the figure around. So that's a bit of a tolerance problem, but a very minor one at that. So I do recommend this figure. Again, not for everyone. It's probably on quite a few people's lists, but if you do have the original use of this mold, if you have the original Dirge, you do not have to get this one unless you're a completionist like me. I really do hope you enjoyed this review. Let me know what you think of this figure in the comment section down below. Lots more reviews coming soon, and I will see you next time.